Guys, Phil Monteleone, the book peddler, coming to you with another YouTube video. If you haven't, feel free, subscribe to the Book Peddler YouTube channel. You can stay up to date on book picks, in-store, out-store activity, business selling experiences, a whole mess stuff. This is all surrounding my life as a used bookseller in upstate New York, where I own and operate 2 brick-and-mortar bookshops, and I sell online. So welcome to the channel if you're new. This video has to do with buyer's remorse. A friend of the channel, JB, contacted me a couple months ago on a comment saying that he had a bad buy, basically a bad book buy. He was asking if I had ever made any and if I had ever experienced some buyer's remorse. I said, oh yeah. And I shared with him a story. I said, you know what, this might be good content to share with you guys on my channel, because as we know, a lot of social media is a lot of the glitz and glamour of people's lives and businesses, but as we very well know, it's not all roses. And in the book business, it's the same thing, especially early on. A lot of mistakes can be made, but we figure out how to work through them, become resourceful, and the more we do it, the easier it gets. Buying is a lot more enjoyable. It's still just as exciting, but it's one of probably the easiest part of the business for me, actually, is buying the physical material. But starting out, I remember that it used to be very stressful. Now my whole mindset has changed quite a bit. My confidence has gone up. And so this part 1 is going to be about JB's bad buy, and then I'm going to share just a couple of my own. And then part 2 will kind of be not just how I approach buys. There's been other videos where I talk about that a bit. But when I'm front and center with the seller, with the content in front of me, kind of how my conduct and demeanor is, and what I'm thinking and what I found to be successful in closing buys. And people have asked about this aspect, and I can give you some very good generalizations of how I handle this now. So if you guys have bad buys out there, put them in the comments section. We can pick on you too. So let's get on with it. Let's talk about JB's buy, his bad buy. So JB got asked to come to a house, and this woman was selling all these books. He gets there. Everything is priced and tagged out, and he want to turn around and leave. I definitely can understand that. You know, I don't, when someone starts telling you what their books are worth, it's kind of like, yeah, thanks, I'll determine what they're worth to me. Like, these people find the highest prices on books, Amazon or eBay, and think that's what they should get for it sometimes. It's quite amazing. But he stays. There were a bunch of Freemasonry books. He couldn't find much info on them, so he offered her $150 for a stack of 60. Of course, she's not happy with the offer. Some people, they just ain't going to be happy if no matter what you give them or offer them. Then he asked if she wanted everything gone and done away with. She said she did. He offers her $400. She took it and ran with it. He thought perhaps there might be a sleeper in the bunch, some type of hidden treasure. Well, it turns out there wasn't. And on the way to the bank even, JB was having a gut feeling that he shouldn't make this buy. Something's telling him, pump the brakes, buddy. And he didn't. He still went through with it. He said overall it wasn't worth walking down 3 flights of stairs, bringing all this material down. There was no hidden treasure. The better books had underlining in them, so it greatly reduced the value. And so he's out $400 in his time. And I said, you know what? You probably got off cheap overall, and you can bounce back from that. So, and he will bounce back from it. He probably already has. Now, I said basically to him, the likelihood of that happening to you again is probably greatly reduced, because the more blows we take, the harder our armor gets, you know, the more reinforced it gets, and you learn from it. And of course, it'll probably happen in different ways. Maybe you come across a collection of antiquarian foreign books. You're not familiar with the titles nor the market, and you find out that the desirability in the market is lacking. Now you're stuck with them, right? Or maybe there's a batch of subpar books that you can get for 10 cents or they're free. And you think it's a smoking deal, but what do they end up doing? Taking up shelf real estate. You can't move them. You're ending up trying to give them away or run massive reduced sales. It wasn't worth your time. You'll never let it happen again. So there's all sorts of different variations of so-called bad buys that we could make. The thing is as you get further into the business, your ability to turn those bad buys, still our so-called bad buys, into profit, or pass them on to another dealer where that might be their a good buy to them, becomes the ability to do so widens as you make more contacts and stick with this longer. But I'm not going to get into the weeds of that. That's for the part 2 of the video, which I think if you're a seller out there or getting into this, you might find to be very beneficial. So to get back to JB's buy real quick though, and of course I don't know all the factors involved, but maybe instead of offering the $400 for those books, lower your risk. Okay, say I'll give you $100 for the rest of them. You know, once you start factoring in your time and just the flights of steps it takes to get down with all the books, not everybody's got a young back out there like your boy the Book Peddler. But besides that, what I'll say though is, so either offer to just take them off their hands if you'd like. Here's my contact information. If they don't take your deal right then and there, get a hold of me if you change your mind on that, or just reduce your risk. Offer $100. You don't have to offer $400 for them all. You know, if the $400 was on top of the $150, if it was all together, I don't know, but kick an extra $100 at most. But what I would also say is if a handshake has not been done, there's no deal to be had. If you have to say on the way to the bank, you're going, man, I don't think I should make this buy, then don't make the buy. That's what I would say. Don't do it. Again, look, I'm sorry. I thought about it on the way. I'd love to help you with this, but I'm thinking in my head, I don't think I can make this work. You know, I reacted wrong. I'd be out of my element if I took these off. Say what you got to say. Back out of the buy if need be. You didn't shake her hand. You didn't exchange money. Look, I appreciate it. This is what I can offer on the stack that I took if that deal's been made, and I'm going to take that and go. But thank you, though. I appreciate you understanding. Now, the bad buys that I've made, and I've made my fair share of them, came down to variables that were similar, like across the board. They usually came down to making emotional buys, maybe reactionary ones, desperate ones, not putting myself in the seller's shoes, neglecting my gut instincts like JB did, being in a rush or being rushed, and not doing my due diligence when it came to researching the material if I was afforded to. So those were basically the common factors that I found during my bad buys, or when I made my bad buys. Now, I'm only going to tell you 2 of mine. I have more than that I might share in the future. But let's start one quick one and then a little bit of a longer one, okay? So, one bad buy that I made, Gulliver's Travel came into the shop. Gulliver's Travels, came into the shop. I believe it was illustrated by Arthur Rackham. I could go check because I still got the book 8 years later. So what happened was I really did like this book, and I have sold since then a lot of Arthur Rackham books. They are desirable books. There is a collector's market out there, but I bought the book wrong, and I did a couple things wrong. So a woman comes into my shop and she brings me this book, right? Cool. She puts a number on it, and I made an offer. She thought it was too low and kept trying to coerce me to come up to her number. Basically what she said was, I got a lot of other books. I don't live very far away that are just as good, and I'm going to be bringing them to you, but you need to pay me my number, basically. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll give it a whirl, you know? Do you think I ever saw her again? Nope. Not a chance, baby. She took the money and she ran. So not saying she actually ran. See, the thing is, tomorrow is never guaranteed. So multiple things could have happened. Maybe she moved. I don't know. Maybe she had good intentions, but things don't always work out the way you hope for them to. Circumstances change. Okay, so don't count on tomorrow. Make the buy that's right for you. That probably is right, 90% of the time. All right. Make the buy if it's there. But if it's not right, you don't make it. Don't feel pressured. And tomorrow's never guaranteed, unless if it's in writing on a contract or something. I don't know. And even then, it's not guaranteed. So that was a bad buy I made. It still sits on the shelf to this day, reminding me of it. Okay. Now, let's get to this, to the next bad buy. So this buy had to do with a lengthy travel. I traveled about 4 hours away from the shop up north to make a buy. And I was contacted first and foremost by an estate salesperson. Okay. This woman had a ton of books. The estate seller didn't know what to do with them. There was just too many. And they hadn't run an estate sale yet. They wanted me to come in. I was notified that some of the books were off limits. She wasn't interested in selling. Well, I get in there, and I'm not really interested in the fodder. I'm interested, of course, in the off-limit books that were gorgeous, that were definitely valuable, and that's where my focus went to. And I couldn't get out of my head about them. Now, one book was significantly rare, and I was licking my chops. I'm trying to figure out how to purchase just one book at least off these off-limit ones. I can't give you detail on what this book was because someday I could still possibly own it. So to back up a little bit, to lay the groundwork, because maybe some of you are at this stage. I'm a few years into the business, right? Every year I've been questioned, basically. My sanity's been questioned. Every move I make seems to be questioned. For my business decision making, like, is this smart business? How do you make money? Are people still buying books? Just bombarded by people. And it really kind of messed with my head. It made me second guess a lot of things. And it wasn't very healthy. You got to learn a good filter system to filter out the noise. Okay. Because everybody's got an opinion. And it definitely led to some low confidence level in certain ways. And that kind of stuff can be really debilitating. So picture this. I'm in this woman's house, and I'm called in to look at the books. And I had built up in my head with my own mental gymnastics that I'm only good for the fodder. Like, you called me in to scrape the bottom of the barrel. This lady knows what the valuable stuff is worth. I have an idea. I mean, the hairs is rising on my forearms, and on my neck. I have an idea that there's something good here, at the very least, ballpark figures. I'm going, so what's she going to do? Take the best stuff to a more prestigious book dealer who will recognize the value and pay her that fair market price. So I thought, again, having built up this mental inadequacies, basically, in my own mind, that I was only good for the fodder. And so it was distorted. It was distorted thinking. So what I thought I would do is show them that I meant business and I got money and I'm going to pay for it. So I made a stupid offer on the fodder. I overpaid for sure. And then they were very happy. So I get them all happy, I think, and I go, and now I'm going to offer you this for that book. And it was just a hard no. Not interested in selling. And I'm going, oh my God, please, borderline, is it legal to prostitute yourself for a book? But anyways, all jokes aside, like, it was demoralizing when I drove back with a huge SUV load of books. It was very stressful. I was up late nights just trying to recoup. And it was a terrible buy. I approached in the whole situation was wrong. It was never about the money. For one, I didn't put myself in the seller's shoes. I got emotionally tied up in these books that were off limits. I acted irrational. I was reactionary. I did everything wrong. So how I would have handled it differently, not interested in these books, but I'll take them off your hand at the very least. Like, that's a service I can provide, basically, right? I made all this trip up there. I could take them back if you'd like. And but these are the books I'm interested in. When you're ready to sell, get a hold of me. You know, keep the money in your pocket. If you go all that way and it turns out to be a dud, I mean, hopefully you've been able to evaluate and assess the situation beforehand, which I'm very strict about it anymore, making sure it's worth my time to go view a collection, especially at that distance. But if it turns out to be a dud, go treat yourself to a nice restaurant. You know, don't just buy them because you made the trip and you're trying to make the most out of it. Sometimes it's not meant to be. So what you could do is look up other bookstores on the route or try to set up other picks. That's what I do now, if anything, most of the time, to still try to make the trip profitable in one form or another. That's all I got to say. Those are book buying remorse tales, just a couple of them for you to wet your chops with. If you have some book buyer's remorse, put them in the comment section. Part 2 will be in a card here and in the larger description. Click over, see the rest of it. We'll see you.